Well, good morning, everybody. It's Mr. Pete here from InsideOut Literary Arts, and I'm going to read you another one of my favorite stories. This one's called The Rainbow Fish. I love books about fish. I love the word fish. I've even written a couple of books of my own that have the word fish in the title. This one's called The Singing Fish. Did you know that fish can sing? And here's another book, The Fish and the Not Fish. I guess there's fish and then everything else is a not fish. Here's another book that Mr. Pete wrote that is about a fish, even though fish isn't in the title. It's called Bob or Man on Boat. And the man on the boat, guess what? He's fishing for a fish. Even this book of mine, which doesn't have fish in the title, We Make Mud, has the word fish, according to the writer Matt Bell, on 121 of its pages. And there's maybe 169 pages in all. So it's a word, fish, that Mr. Pete likes a great deal, maybe as much as Harold loves his purple crayon, or maybe even as much as Small Pig loves his mud. So I'm going to get back to this story, Rainbow Fish, which, as you can see, the main character of this story happens to be a very sparkly fish. Can you see all of its scales that are sparkling here? He's a very beautiful fish. Every fish, I would say, is a beautiful fish, but this rainbow fish seems especially beautiful. Can you see him here? Again, his scales are very sparkly. That would be the word that you might use to describe him. And here he is again, looking very sparkly at the bottom of the sea. So let's begin with this story about the rainbow fish. And what I should tell you too about this story is that this story, like many stories, has a very strong message to it, or another word we might use, it has a moral to it, and a moral is sort of the lesson that sometimes a story might tell. Not all stories necessarily come with a moral, but certainly some do. So be on the lookout for what this story might have to teach us. So a long way out in the deep blue sea, there lived a fish. Not just an ordinary fish, but the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. His scales were every shade of blue and green and purple, with sparkling silver scales among them. Some good writing there. Even if this picture weren't here, I think that we would be able to picture this fish because of the words. Maybe you've heard this saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. That's sometimes true, but sometimes you don't need even 1,000 words to paint a picture in the reader's minds. So let's get back to our story. Now, there's the rainbow fish, and then there's all the other fish in the sea. The other fish were amazed at his beauty. They called him Rainbow Fish. "Come on, Rainbow Fish," they would call. "Come and play with us." But the Rainbow Fish would just glide past, proud and silent, letting his scales shimmer. So the fish want to play, but Rainbow Fish seems to be doing his own thing at this point in the story. I wonder why. One day, a little blue fish followed after him. "Rainbow fish," he called, "wait for me. Please give me one of your shiny scales. They are so wonderful, and you have so many." So this fish is hoping that maybe rainbow fish would be willing to share some of his beauty, some of his beautiful scales. He certainly has an abundance of them, don't you think? "You want me to give you one of my special scales? Who do you think you are?" cried the rainbow fish. "Get away from me." Shocked, and you can see the look on his face. He's sort of surprised by rainbow fish's reaction. The little blue fish swam away. He was so upset, he told all his friends what had happened. From then on, no one would have anything to do with the rainbow fish. They turned away whenever he swam by. Even though rainbow fish is certainly a beautiful fish, if he doesn't have any friends, he certainly also might be a lonely fish. Let's see if he learns his lesson in this story. Here we've got rainbow fish again in the big blue ocean, but all alone. What good were the dazzling, shimmering scales with no one to admire them? Now he was the loneliest fish in the entire ocean. One day he poured out his troubles to the starfish. Starfish, I hear, are really good listeners. "I really am beautiful. Why doesn't anybody like me?" "I can't answer that for you," said the starfish, "but if you go beyond the coral reef to a deep cave, you will find the wise octopus. Maybe she can help you." Octopus are a very wise animal of the sea. So guess what? Rainbow fish listens to the starfish. The rainbow fish found the cave. It was very dark inside and he couldn't see anything. Then suddenly 2 eyes caught him in their glare and the octopus emerged from the darkness. See the eyes, the octopus, the 8 legs of the octopus. Well, I've heard that there's also octopi in the world that maybe have as many as 12 legs, or so the story has been told. "I have been waiting for you," said the octopus with a deep voice. "The waves have told me your story. This is my advice. Give a glittering scale to each of the other fish. You will no longer be the most beautiful fish in the sea, but you will discover how to be happy." Maybe the key to happiness is sharing our gifts with the world. I like to believe that. It's good to be kind. So here we got the rainbow fish with his beautiful sparkly scales. "I can't," the rainbow fish started to say, but the octopus had already disappeared into a dark cloud of ink. "Give away my scales, my beautiful shining scales? Never. How could I ever be happy without them?" It's a good question. Are his scales, is his beauty the source of his happiness? It seems to me that maybe right now they're the source of his unhappiness and of his loneliness. So here we've got rainbow fish. We've got that fish you remember who had earlier in the story asked if the rainbow fish would maybe share one of his glittery, sparkly scales. Suddenly, he felt the light touch of a fin. The little blue fish was back. "Rainbow fish, please, don't be angry. I just want one little scale." The rainbow fish wavered. which means he sort of is thinking about it. Only one very small shimmery scale, he thought. Well, maybe I wouldn't miss just one. Because remember, he has a whole assortment and abundance, more than he needs even, of these beautiful sparkly scales. So I have a feeling Rainbow Fish is getting prepared to share. Oh, look at that. He's about to give up one of his beautiful scales. Carefully, the Rainbow Fish pulled out the smallest scale and gave it to the little fish. Thank you very much, the little blue fish bubbled playfully as he tucked the shiny scale in among his blue ones. A rather peculiar feeling came over the Rainbow Fish. For a long time, he watched the little blue fish swim back and forth with his new scale glittering in the water. I wonder what that peculiar feeling might be. Maybe he's feeling love. Maybe he's feeling joy in the act of sharing. It's possible. So here we've got that blue fish with his one beautiful sparkly scale that Rainbow Fish shared. And guess what? Rainbow Fish still is among the most beautiful fish in the sea with all of his other glittery scales. But look here, there's some other fish who are showing up too. Maybe they've heard the good news that Rainbow Fish is willing to share some of his beauty, some of his abundance. The little blue fish whizzed through the ocean with his scale flashing, so it didn't take long before the Rainbow Fish was surrounded by the other fish. Everyone wanted a glittering scale. The Rainbow Fish shared his scales left and right, and the more he gave away, the more delighted he became. When the water around him filled with glimmering scales, he at last felt at home among the other fish. Isn't that what we all want, is to feel at home with other people, or in this case, with other fish? I certainly think so, and I hope that you think so too. It's good to have friends. It's good to have families. It's good to have a sense of belonging to a kind of a tribe even. Some of you might remember in the classroom we read a poem about how we are all of a tribe. Let's get back to this story about the Rainbow Fish. Finally, the Rainbow Fish had only one shining scale left, because he's given all of his scales away. His most prized possessions had been given away, yet he was very happy. Come on, Rainbow Fish, all the fish in the sea called. Come and play with us. Here I come, said the Rainbow Fish, and as happy as a splash, he swam off to join his friends. And all of his friends, you can see, they each have one of his scales, because Rainbow Fish understood that a gift and beauty is nothing unless you share it with the rest of the world, and especially with your friends. And maybe that's what I mean when I said earlier on about how sometimes a story comes with a moral or a lesson. And maybe the lesson here, again, here's our final picture of our beautiful Rainbow Fish. And I would even say that he's still as beautiful as he was at the beginning of his journey, don't you think? Even though he's down to only one glittery scale. So maybe the moral of the story is it's good to share. Maybe the moral of the story is be kind. Maybe the moral of the story is when you have plenty of something, maybe you need to give some of it away to really experience the joy of what it means to be a part of a school of fish, a school of school children, the people in your neighborhood, the people in your family who, of course, you love. So what I want you to think about after hearing this story is how the moral of this story, how you might relate to it. Maybe you've had a similar experience where you were asked to share, and maybe at first it was a difficult struggle, but eventually maybe you shared your toys with a little sibling or with maybe someone in the neighborhood who didn't have as much as you have. I want you to try to think about that and maybe write about that, a little reflection, where you can maybe even say that on some level, Rainbow Fish and his story is similar to my own story. Or think about other times when you were put into a situation where to be kind was the right thing to do. And of course, it's not always the easy thing to do, but most often it's the right thing to do. And what I'd like you to do is to write about it from your own experience. Or if you want to try to tell a story or make up a story about some sort of a character, maybe it'll be a fish too. Maybe it'll be a little boy with a magic pencil or crayon, or a pig who learns to share his mud with some of the other pigs on the farm. And just, I want you guys to, again, have fun and learn to love words the way that I love the word fish, so much so that it's hard for me not to write on a piece of paper and not include that word fish. And I'm glad that I was able to share one of my favorite books with you today. Have a good day.